why do they drop a giant ball in Times Square to celebrate New Year's? It has to do with sailors out at sea. Okay, the first New Year's Eve party here in Times Square was the same year Times Square was invented, 1904, when the New York Times newspaper built their new headquarters right there, and the city renamed this public square in their honor. To show off their fancy new One Times Square building, the paper threw a big New Year's Eve celebration. Now, they did not have a time ball that first year. Instead, they set off fireworks, which might sound super fun, but fireworks in 1904, super dangerous. Imagine like a tiny dynamite bomb that shot out bright lights, but also fiery ash. So when detonated from the top of a skyscraper, that fiery ash rained down onto the crowded streets below, landing on and injuring some of the spectators. So fireworks were not a safe idea. So the second year, they decided to set off fireworks. And again, fiery ash falling from the sky. People got burnt. Not a great idea. So that third year, they also set off fireworks, only this time, the city stepped in and banned them from doing it again until fireworks got a whole lot safer. So they needed a new way to ring in the new year. Enter the time ball and sailors out at sea. So in the late 17 to early 1900s, to navigate, sailors often used a device called a marine chronometer. For this to work properly, they needed to know two different times: the local time on board their ship, which they could calculate using the sun, and the precise time at a known port's longitude. Now, clocks and watches did exist back then, but they weren't advanced enough to work accurately at sea. Humidity, temperature changes, the movement of the ship, all that affected the clock's mechanism. So sailors needed a different way to know for sure the precise time at a nearby port. To solve this problem, in 1829 in Portsmouth, England, a British Royal Navy captain decided to signal the time from land by using a giant metal hollow sphere, which he painted and rigged to a pole at the top of a tall building, and he would lower that sphere at the same time every single day. That big sphere was so obvious, sailors could spot it through their telescopes, adjust their chronometers with the accurate information, and then their navigation capabilities really started flowing. These time balls were so useful, they were set up in major ports across the world. But that does not explain this time ball in Times Square. We're 2 miles away from the Hudson. What does explain it is that it was 1907 and they weren't allowed to use fireworks anymore. So time balls were prevalent enough at the time. Lots of people would have recognized them, not just sailors or folks who worked on the waterfront. So it made sense when the New York Times chief electrician, Walter F. Palmer, suggested replacing those dangerous fireworks with a nice, safe time ball, which they could lower at midnight, not to signal sailors, but to signify the new year. No fiery ash or burnt up spectators required. That first time ball was lit up with 100 light bulbs and could easily be spotted from blocks away. Now, evolution in clock and signaling technology rendered most time balls obsolete by the 1920s. But the time ball here in Times Square has only gotten larger and more elaborate since then. This year's time ball is covered in over 2,700 Waterford crystals and illuminated with 32,000 LED lights. So it can be spotted not just from blocks away, but televised internationally and on the internet pretty much anywhere. Meaning this New Year's Eve, everyone can have a ball.